Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video I am going to be reviewing BunsenLabs Linux. Before we start, I wanted to show you my new setup. Basically I got rid of the XFCE desktop and basically I got rid of Ubuntu in total. I'm now running Debian and I am running openbox as the window manager, and I've got PCman FM which allows me to put the desktop icons on the desktop. And the purpose of this is that this machine runs extremely light. Most of the time I'm working in VMs, so the actual host here is running very light. So if I show you, it's running 688. It's going up because I've got a simple screen recorder recording this video, but generally idle, doing nothing, is 400 megabytes RAM that's being used, hardly anything at all. So what that means is I have installed KVM and Virtual Machine Manager, and that allows me to run all the different Linuxes I want to use as virtual machines, which means most of the time I'm going to be working in the virtual machine, not on the host. The only reason I'm going to use the host is to record the video and maybe edit the video, and that's all I'm going to be doing on the host. Everything else I'm going to be doing in one of my virtual machines. Now the one I'm using most of the time now is MX Linux, and that's going to have all my work and all the stuff that you don't need to see in there, so that when I'm doing videos, quite often I show documents and it shows a list of all the things I've accessed and stuff. You don't need to see that, so I'm going to have that all set off in its own virtual machine, and then I can have a virtual machine for all the other different Linux distributions. Now you might notice I haven't got Windows there, but I have got VirtualBox installed, and VirtualBox is purely there to run Windows. Now it says it's inaccessible, but as soon as I connect a drive up, it will be available. So the only thing I'm going to be running in VirtualBox is Windows. Everything else is going to be done by KVM. So in a later tutorial I'm going to show you how to set up and install KVM. But today I'm going to show you about BunsenLabs Linux. So also on my host machine I've got a web browser, because you always need a web browser. It doesn't matter what kind of machine you're on. It's just useful to have one on the host. So you can see I've got DistroWatch open here, and BunsenLabs is down in 97th on the list. Now BunsenLabs was born out of Crunchbang Linux, which is a former distribution that actually went bang a few years ago. It's incredibly lightweight. It's based on openbox as well, so similar to my host machine, it's openbox based, and you can see by this screenshot it's based on Debian stable, as is my own distro here that I'm using as my host, and that's about it. So if we look at BunsenLabs website, you can see the BunsenLabs Linux Boron is a distribution offering a lightweight and easily customizable open box desktop. Now remember, this is Everyday Linux User, so despite my own setup looking quite complicated at the moment, once I'm in my virtual machines are as usable as any other easy distribution to use. So for instance, I've got Linux Mint as a virtual machine, I've got MX Linux as a virtual machine. They're really easy to use. My host machine is purely there to create virtual machines and run virtual machines from. So the features: pre-configured openbox window manager with a tint panel, it's got Conky, and it's got a desktop menu. I'm going to be reviewing this from the basis of the Everyday Linux User. How easy is it to set up your hardware, what applications are installed, how easy is it to install new applications, and that's what my plan is. So I'm going to minimize that. In my downloads folder I've already downloaded Boron, but if you wanted to download Boron, you can go to the installation page on the BunsenLabs website, which is www.bunsenlabs.org/installation.html, and you'll see a download for a 64-bit ISO. There's also 32-bit ISOs if you want to download them. Now you can create a virtual machine using VirtualBox for installing BunsenLabs as a virtual machine so that you can try it out. I'm going to be using KVM. So what I'm going to do is, I'm in Virtual Machine Manager, and all I have to do is click this icon here, and I'm going to install from local media, and I need to go to, I'm going to browse local, and I'm just going to click this icon here, and then it says automatically detect from the media. It's not going to do that, so you can either start typing Debian. It's not Debian 11, so I'm just going to go for a generic Linux and click next. How much memory? I'm going to give it 8 gigabytes. I'm going to give it 4 cores. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click manage here, and under VMs I'm going to create a new volume. I am going to call it Boron. I'm going to make it 20 gigabytes. I don't need any more than that for this. You can see there's different formats. I'm going to put it in the QCal format. Click finish, and then I've got my disk, and that's basically a virtual hard drive. So I'm going to click choose volume there, and then I'm going to click forward. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Boron, and then I'm going to click finish. It says virtual network is not active. Do you want to enable it? I'm going to say yes. That means when I get into the machine, I'm going to be able to connect to the internet. And here we are. So the live install, I'm going to select the first option. I'm now going to go full screen. I'm going to see if I can change the display settings. I can go to the display here, AR and R screen layout editor, which is what this is here. And then if I go to view, virtual 1, resolution, and I can pick a resolution that's more suitable, so in this case 1920 by 1080. Click the tick here, and you can see it refreshes the screen. The only thing it does do is put your conky a bit out of reach, and your background isn't quite right. So if I go to conky and reload, and you can see it puts it on the right hand side, and we can change the background section if we want to. But what we want to do is install BunsenLabs. To actually install Boron, you have to do it from the club menu. You can't do it from a live installer within BunsenLabs. So I've had to reboot, and now I'm going to scroll down and go to Start Installer. I'm going to go full screen. So we're going to go English, United Kingdom. So this is essentially the Debian installer. You have to give it a name. I'm going to call it Boron. You can leave this blank. Now, interestingly, when you're installing Debian, it asks for a root password, and if you don't give a root password, that puts you in the sudo group, which enables you to use sudo, but then you don't get the root user to be able to switch to the root user. In this case, BunsenLabs has skipped the bit where it asks for the root password. So here all you have to do is enter your full name and a username for your account, and then a password. Now I'm assuming therefore that you're not going to get the root password, all you're going to get is sudo. Now I asked you where you want to install it. If you're doing this on your own actual machine, make sure you've backed everything up first. If you're using a virtual machine, it's fine to use the entire disk, because the virtual machine is just the disk that allocated for your virtual machine. So in my case, I am going to use the entire disk, and you can see it says virtual disk. I'm going to put all files in one partition, and then I'm going to finish write and change this to disk. And one more time, it gives you a warning. Like I said, if you're not happy that you want to continue, don't go any further than this point, because this is the point of no return. And now it's installing the system. Now it's worth noting that if you're doing Debian, what it would do is it would install the base system, then it would sort out your package managers, which is obviously apt. It lets you choose the local region, and then it asks you what you want to install, like which desktop, whether you want all the base Debian desktop environment, whether you want a web server, all those sort of things. Bunsen isn't going to do that. It's going to restore all the base files and all the files it needs for BunsenLabs or Boron. So once this is finished, I think you're going to get to the point where you can actually use the system. So you can see now that we've moved on a bit. Do you want to install Grub? The answer is yes. We're going to choose this dev VDA. Say, you can see now it says installation complete, it's time to reboot, so just click continue. So I'm going to start this up again. It's a little bit messy in KVM. And you can see the display is not white again after installing, so what we're going to do is what we did last time, go to user, display, R&R. It's because we're in openbox. So if I go to outputs, virtual resolution, and we'll go 1920-108 T, and then we're fine there, and then we're going to go back to Conky, we're going to reload. So openbox, by default you need to install something like Nitrogen to manage the wallpapers, which is what BunsenLabs has done. So because openbox really is just a window manager, and really all you get is a menu system, and it will manage the windows of applications that are open, but it won't do anything for your desktop in terms of background management. Now you've seen on my host PC I'm using PCman FM to do this, but Boron is using Nitrogen. We're getting this tiling effect because of the resolution that the operating system was in when I first went into it. This is only a virtual machine issue, it probably wouldn't happen in real life. We can choose a different wallpaper, and you can see there's some for different resolutions. So if I go for BunsenLabs 1920 by 1080, it now loads in the correct format. So if we look at the welcome screen, it says welcome to BunsenLabs. It's an optional post-op installation script to help you configure your new Linux installation and get the most out of it. So you can hit enter to continue or Q to quit. So I'm going to hit enter. We're going to follow the routine. So it's going to ask for my password that I set up whilst installing BunsenLabs. It's asking me whether I want to continue with the script. If I do, I've got to type OK. Do I want to upgrade my software? Yes, I do. Quite handy down the right hand side, we've got a list of shortcut keys. Alt F2 is going to bring up a run dialog. Alt and F3 is the menu. And you can do super for the main menu, which is basically the openbox menu. Super and tab for the client menu. And that enables you to go to different desktops. And you can open a terminal by super and T. You can open your web browser, super and W. We'll save that one. And file manager, super and F. And you can see editors, media players, all those sort of things. And shortcut keys are there as a reminder. So if you want to install extra firmware, you can do that if you want to. And there's this apt update checker, and this is going to enable you to keep your Debian packages up to date. So Debian pack ports, as it says on the screen, lets you get, because BunsenLabs is based on Debian stable, the thing with stable is that over time the packages fall a fair way behind the latest version, which is fine if you're not that bothered about all the latest features of things. But if you do need something a little bit later, Debian backports takes it from the testing branch, or so that means you get more up-to-date software. The danger is it hasn't been fully tested yet, so it may not be perfect. So you can say yes or no to this. I am going to say yes. And then you can add it in the BunsenLabs backports. So this is going to give you even more software. but it's from the BunsenLabs repositories. So as it says, they're not extensively tested. So it's up to you whether you install them or not. I'm going to say yes. Install Bluetooth support. I'm going to do that because that's part of my hardware testing, so we'll do that. Do I want Java support? I don't know, I'm going to say yes. And then the next screens are going to let you choose less commonly used packages. So it's used for developing software. So I'm going to say yes to viewing these options. So do you want version control software? I'm going to say no, I don't need that in this case. Do I want to install LampStack? That gives you a web server with PHP for developing server-side web pages, and then MySQL for databases, and then you get Apache, which is the actual web server itself. I'm going to say no. Do you want Debian packaging tools that enables you to write your software then package it up in a Debian format? No, I'm acting as a normal user, not a developer here. And then here we are. It's going to allow me to install all the things that I suggested earlier. So it's going to give me that firmware there. It's going to give me the update checker, Bluetooth support, and Java support. Choose Y, and then it will install all those things. Finally, when you get to the end, you see this finished sign, and you can press any key to exit, and then we're in BunsenLabs. Okay, so here we are. I've rebooted, restarted, and we're back into BunsenLabs again, and now everything's installed as it should be. So what we'll do now is test the hardware out. So we'll go down to the network, and you can see it is possible to connect to Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is working perfectly well. We'll now try and connect to Bluetooth. So down here, you saw that I installed the Bluetooth manager previously. So if I click yes to that, I can now click search. It's found my Bluetooth speaker.
Connecting.
And I think that's connected okay. What we can do is load a web browser. So we'll leave that open because we'll turn it off afterwards. But if I go to the web browser being Firefox, and we'll go to the YouTube channel for Everyday Linux User. So in my last video I showed how to do mail merge with LibreOffice, so let's see if that plays. Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video I'm going to show you how to do mail merges using LibreOffice Writer. So that works quite well. Now we're going to look at printing. So down here, well, it's given an option to install printing support. So let's try that. So now when we go to printers, you can go to configure printers. I'm not sure why it wasn't just installed in the first place, to be honest with you. Now because I'm in a virtual machine, it's probably not going to find my printer straight away. So if I type in the IP address, it should find it, and there we are. And that's my printer setup. So hardware support is good. Application wise, there isn't an awful amount, so we'll go down to all applications. So under accessories, you've got a few things here, sort of stuff you expect. So you've got all these things that say BL. So if I click BL File Manager, it's not actually the BL file manager. It's Tuner, which comes as part of XFCE. So yeah, it's not really BunsenLabs, it's just Tuner by another name. And in fact, if you go down to all applications, you go down here and you've got Tuner. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Tuner or Thuna, but that's essentially what you're getting. BL text editor, that's Genie. You've got things like clipboard manager, you've got LibreOffice Start Center, LightDM greeter settings. Nitrogen is what sets the wallpaper in the background, and you've got Xterminal emulator and XFburn for burning CDs. Under development, you've got a CLI editor and text editor. You've got a CLI editor and a text editor. The text editor, as we know, is Genie. Under graphics, there's not much at all. You've got BL image viewer, which is essentially Ristretto under a different name. We've got a document viewer for PDFs, and then a screenshot tool. Under multimedia, you've got a BL media player. It's VLC. You've also got Pulse Audio stuff, and you can see XF Burns there as well. Under Internet, we've got FileZilla for FTP in, Firefox, HexChat, which is IRC chat, Transmission, which is a BitTorrent client, and the web browser is going to be Firefox as well. Under Office, you've got some of the LibreOffice suite, not all of it. You've got Calc and Writer, and then the Start Center. For some reason, Impress, Drawing, Math and Base didn't cut the mustard. It was just Writer and Calc that you get for BunsenLabs for some reason. Under settings, various things, Bluetooth manager, you saw Conky, which is this thing to the right, and a Conky manager. You've seen the print settings, got tint, and all this sort of stuff down here is to do with this little panel over here. And then under system, you've got the package installers. So the package manager is Synaptic, so that's how you install software. And that's pretty much all there is to BunsenLabs. So essentially, BunsenLabs is Debian with openbox, a Nitrogen as the background viewer, and a few tools on top of that. So essentially, if we go back to where we started with my video, I said that I'd created a Debian install and an openbox on top of it, and then I installed PCman FM and then a few tools. So what I managed to do in probably the space of a couple of hours is essentially what you can do with Boron, but they've taken the effort away from you, so you don't have to do that yourself. Installing software, you're going to use Synaptic, and this isn't the prettiest tool you'll ever see in your life. I'm sure I've shown this many a time if you've been a regular viewer to the channel. So essentially, if you want the Chromium web browser, you type in Chromium, and hopefully somewhere down here you'll see the Chromium browser. Yes, so Chromium web browser, and essentially what you do is right click, mark for installation, and then to install it you just click apply, and away it goes. And this is installing Debian packages only. So essentially you're going to struggle to find all the applications you want in this way, but you can see that it was very quick to install. So if I right click and I go to applications now, back to internet, you'll see Chromium is installed and it works perfectly well. But what you'll probably not find are things like Steam or Chrome or things like that. I'm hazarding a guess on Steam. You might find Steam. Actually you do. Steam installer is there, so you could install Steam. Actually no, look, you've got this unresolvable dependencies, so you can't install Steam this way. What about things like Spotify? You got this thing where it's rebuilding the search index every time, so that's not overly clever. The only reason I could see the everyday Linux user wanted to use this is because you've got a really old machine, or you want something really lightweight. Now if you quite like this menu system and all you want to do is run your programs and you go down to applications and pick from the menu, if you like that, but you want to have an easy way to install all your programs, then you could compromise a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that. So what we're going to do is sudo apt install, and we'll do GNOME software. So install GNOME software. So what you also want to install is this package here, GNOME software plugin Flatpak. So we just type sudo apt install GNOME software plugin Flatpak. And then what we want to do is, if we open up Firefox, so here we are, flatpak.org setup. It's a Debian based distribution, so I would click on that. We've already installed Flatpak, we've already installed the plugin. All we need to do now is add in the repo, so we can just click that icon there. So you press Windows and T to open the terminal, and then you paste in the command. And that's that done. Now all you have to do is reboot your computer. You can see GNOME software is now loading. And here we are, GNOME software is loaded, and we search for Chrome. Chrome is there, Spotify, Steam, and if I install this, it is going to install okay, because Flatpaks work, doesn't matter which distribution you're using, they're built just to work because they're in a container. There is of course a compromise with using GNOME software. My CPU is jumped up to 79%, my RAM's at 1.42 gigabytes. You don't of course have to use GNOME to install Flatpaks. You can use the command line, it's just it handles it quite well, and it makes it easy to search for them, easy to install, and easy to integrate with your operating system. So I rebooted, and now you've got a games menu and there's Steam there. So when I click that, you can see it's now updating the Steam environment. If you look at the RAM after rebooting, it's down about there. It's below the 1 gigabyte mark because I haven't run GNOME Software Manager. What I did notice was down here under System, we have under System Settings we have Install Favorite Packages. So whilst you can't install Flatpaks by default, if we go here, you've got some favorite packages. So if you wanted to install Dillo, you can install Dillo. Terminal emulators, utilities. So Dropbox is available, for instance. You can install Audacious, Audacity, Simple Screen Recorder, GIMP, Inkscape, things like that. And then you can install the rest of the LibreOffice suite that isn't installed by default. Now that doesn't give you everything you need, that just gives you some of the applications you might need. And there you can see Steam is now available, and I would be able to log in and start downloading and playing games. So that's really the end of the review. To summarise, BunsenLabs, essentially what you're getting is you're getting Debian with the openbox window manager on top and a few tools. It's not for the everyday Linux user. It's not for people that just want to use their computer and start using tools like LibreOffice and do video editing, maybe do some graphics, maybe play some games. On that basis, BunsenLabs is alright. There's not much to it. Essentially, if you know Debian, you could probably set this up yourself within 2 to 3 hours, I would have thought, and you can get it closer to the way you want to look. So for instance, me setting up what I've got here, okay, it hasn't got menu bars and stuff like that, but it took less than probably an hour and a half to get this up and running like this. And I can run all my tools. I've got Bluetooth, I've got all the applications I need for the host. Not all the, I haven't put any Office Suite or anything like that on it. This is just for video editing and doing putting virtual machines on. So my main machine is actually MX Linux, and I put Linux Mint on because it's nice to have a shiny operating system on there as well. But yeah, going back to BunsenLabs, there isn't all that much to it. It's okay. It's I understand why it exists, but I also understand why it's kind of niche and why it's lower down in the pecking order of distributions. So on that basis, if you liked this review, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Linux User.